All right, class, this is video number 4 for lesson 4.1. We have flipped and we're on page 188. We're looking at laws of exponents and we are investigating expanding exponential expressions, simplifying them, and we're coming up with a couple of rules, the product rule and the power rule. Those are going to be 2 of about 5 rules that we're going to be working with when we work with exponents. Product rule and power rule. So let's take a look here on page 188. This is number 6, so I jumped down here just because I want to make sure that we get this concept down. Here are 2 examples of an expression, x to the 25th times x to the 40th. Now what we'll notice here is that from our previous work, we can't do x 25 times. That's ridiculous. And then x 40 times. But what we can do is add those 2 together and get 65. So this right here, the generalization would be x to the a power times x to the b power. You're adding your exponents right there. You're adding a plus b. Okay, and we're going to call that the product rule. Now in this scenario right here, again, the key feature, okay, thinking of order of operations, doesn't look like my marker's going to work all that well, but we'll give it a shot. The parentheses are telling us that we're taking x to the 5th and we're raising it to the 10th power. So it's x to the 5th times x to the 5th times x to 10 times. Okay, so in that scenario, instead of adding them, we actually multiplied 5 times 10, and I'm sorry, I'm sure that's horrible in terms of visibility right there, but it's 5 times 10, and that gives us 50. So the generalization is when you see those parentheses and it's raised to a power. In this case, it's x would be a times b, that you're actually multiplying your exponents there, and that is the power rule. So I put that right here with the parentheses to make sure that anytime you see those parentheses, you know that you're multiplying your exponents, not adding them. Okay, let me quickly slide this down. Like I said, we're still kind of old school here with a dot cam. Okay, so on page 188, number 4, we were to try and come up with different ways that we could play with the expression x to the 12th power. So one way that we could do it is let's just try with the product rule. Is that if we use the product rule, and I'm just looking at my time here, we have about a minute, I could do x to the 6th times x to the 6th. I'm adding my exponents, so that would equal x to the 12th, because it would be 6 times. Now if I wanted to do my power rule, remember this involves parentheses, I'm going to go like this. I'm going to do x squared, put parentheses around it. Now I need to come up with a power that's going to give me x to the 12th. Well, 2 times 6 is an example of a power rule that would give us x to the 12th if we simplified that expression right there. Okay, let's go ahead and slide down and look at number 5. Hey, sorry, I just had to take a phone call there and pause the video, and I didn't want to start over. Okay, so we have about just less than a minute left here. Number 5, it said that we are, the student is trying to simplify expressions with very large exponents. And so trying to apply the product rule and the power rule. Let's see how Gerald did on this. Okay, so we just want to make sure that if it's correct, we're going to put a check mark next to it. But if it's not, we need to explain why. Okay, right here, 2m to the 40th power. Now remember, that 40 does not apply to the 2. It only applies to the m. And then we have 3m to the 30th power. Same thing, the 30th power only applies to the m, not the 3. Gerald came up with 5m to the 120th power. Okay, so right away I can see that this is going to be the product rule because I don't see any parentheses, so it's not a power rule. This down here is probably going to be a power rule. And if we look, Gerald, he added 2 and 3. Now this is multiplication, so straight away we should know that 2 times 3 is not going to give us 5. And then m to the 40th times m to the 30th. Now, if we use our product rule, we're going to multiply 2 times 3 is 6. M to the 40th times m to the 30th, we're going to add those exponents. That's our product rule there. And so it's going to be m to the 70th. That's funky. That's definitely funky there. Let's check this one out. Y to the 20th times y to the 41st. Okay, to the 41st power. It looks like Gerald did add these, kept the same base, and y is check. That's all good there. Okay, last one. We have 2a squared, b to the 15th, all to the 3rd power, which means that this is being multiplied by itself 3 times. Now, just remember, and this is kind of a jump from our earlier ones, this 3 is applying to the exponents, but it also has to apply to that 2 right there. So let's see, he's got an 8, because that's 2 times 2 times 2, that's 8. That works to, it's 2 to the 3rd power. A squared, he added them. We have to do multiplication. So really what we're looking for is we need a to the 6th, and then 3 times 15 would be b to the 45th. So let's change this 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. Our simplified version here would be 8a to the 6th power, b to the 45th.